just before we get to that last leg on Kaduna State, let's focus on Lagos, right? Nigeria's commercial capital for a bit. And as you can see, we have right here with us in our Lagos studio, the
Everybody seems to...
That just upgrade you right now.
A lot of people have been doing this.
I need to get the presidential election out of my head.
Let me get
We have the governorship candidate of the Labour Party, Gbadebo Road Survivor, right here with us.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
It was your birthday yesterday.
Yes, it was.
So happy birthday.
Thank you.
The big 40, right?
Big 40, yes.
But, I mean, it's politics. I imagine that overshadowed all of the birthday celebrations.
Yes,
with the postponement we saw very late yesterday, you were riding on that momentum that, you know, the goodwill, the Labour Party goodwill. And a lot of people thought, well, this marathon will come to an end this weekend. I wonder, with the postponement, has that dampened that momentum? Because it stretched it again, another lap to go.
No, we're very excited because every day that you give us, we get stronger. Every day that you give us, we can engage more with the people, reach out to the people, get into their hearts and minds. So it's a very, we're happy about it, you know. And most importantly, it's not about rushing an election, it's about getting it right. Right, and that's why we got the injunction to ensure that INEC actually follows its processes. And then it's also important that presidential candidates, right, also go through the process of getting all their data from BVAS, right? So it's not just about doing something and rushing to do it. There are lots of things that must be done right if we want to set this country on the right course.
So in spite of the fact that your presidential candidate is asking to have time to go through the BVAS, inspect them, get the data. And then the court says, well, we need to ensure that this is done, especially because INEC has given some assurances that the data will be backed up. You're okay with that?
I am, because I feel that the president of Nigeria holds a significant role, and we must get that right. It's unfortunate if our presidential candidate is somebody that was not elected by the will of the people, and is not someone that's a reflection of the will of the people and their aspirations for a better Nigeria. And anything that can ensure that that is legitimized and legitimate is something that I'm open to. Because
for a lot of people in your party, it was like a bittersweet judgment, having the elections postponed by 1 week, but the fact that INEC could actually go ahead to configure or reconfigure the BVAS, it was bittersweet. But it's interesting you see it as
because if they reconfigure it and data is lost, that, you know, we have to think on the long term, right? Everything is not just about short-term wins, it's also about the long-term win. I need for His Excellency Peter Obi to get all his information, all his data, so we can actually stand a very good chance in court.
And you trust INEC on this one?
After last Saturday, I cannot say I trust INEC. I am watching, right? I am observing. And because, I mean, we have results from our situation room that puts us in Lagos over 900,000 votes. But then you see what they declared is very different. So I cannot, as a right-thinking human being, say I trust INEC. They are going to have to win our trust. But we are prepared for whatever worst-case scenario, and we're hopeful for the best.
Because the irony is the fact that your candidates that won at the Senate, House of Reps, I mean, went to collect their certificate of return, which came out of an election which your party doubts the process and even the results.
No, because it's a very simple thing. The INEC chairman, by himself, came out and promised us that there will be electronic transmission of voting, right? And that was supposed to take us out of this 2015, 2019 type of elections where there's so much rigging and manipulations at the ward coalition and the local government coalition. Now, it does not mean that a rightful person cannot emerge through that other process. You just have to be a lot more aggressive, a lot more close marking to ensure that nobody can get away with anything, right? And people will do that and emerge, right? But there are also a lot of situations where, I mean, in Surulere 2 in Lagos State, all of a sudden, after the Labour Party candidate had emerged the winner, they said he was just not supposed to be on the ballot box, right? On the ballot paper. Or you have a situation, you know, Ojo, they later called it in favor of Labour Party. In a number of local governments, in Ikeja, in a number of local governments, there was all that delay and a lot of problems, right? But with the electronic transmission of voting, because I was part of the Osun election at the time the Ondo election, right, back then. And we literally, as a party, our situation was collating results from the INEC portal. And I truly believe that our process had been deepened and had become transparent to a large extent. And when you also look at the Osun elections when Omishore went to the collation center, it was almost empty, and literally they chased him out. It showed that the value, the truth, the integrity of it had already gone online.
Interesting. I'm interested in your candidacy and the many controversies arising. First, the primordial sentiments that your candidacy has thrown up. They are primordial, but then they are the people's feelings. Some of the concerns are that you don't speak the language. You are from Lagos truly, but your mother is Igbo. How do you hope to, should you win, unify Lagos, being a cosmopolitan state of many people coming together from, different parts of the country?
Yes, first of all, I am the epitome of a cosmopolitan Lagos. I represent it, I embody it. I see what brings us together as opposed to what takes us apart. And let us know, see, Lagos State has been in harmony for a very long time. What happens is politicians come and try to divide us. And I always say to people, let us be wary of a politician or politicians that only remember that they are Yoruba when it's time for politics. When Fulani herdsmen were making incursions into Oyo and into different parts of the southwest, and people like Sunday Igboho stood up, people like Rotimi Akeredolu stood up. A lot of politicians in Lagos were quiet. They played politics with it. They were quiet. When it was time for Amotekun, they were quiet. So many interests of the Yoruba people, they were quiet because they wanted an alliance with the North, right? So they put their political interests above the interests of their people. And then all of a sudden, it's time for politics, and they remind you that this person does not speak Yoruba, this person. With the Yoruba that they've been speaking, when they fired at young people at Lekki Toll Gate, did they separate the Yoruba, Igbo, or Hausa? All the Agberos on the streets that are wasting their lives, young men that are getting on drugs and have been multiplying for years, do they go and meet the ones that are Yoruba and tell them, come, we'll give you rehabilitation, or we're going to get you off the streets, we're going to ensure that you're a more productive member of society?
Are you implying that the politicians fired at the protesters
I will say from what the army has said, Governor Sanwo-Olu invited them in and gave the order.
But he's been clearing that time and again. I imagine you caught the interview.
I mean, and then what the army said during the hearing completely goes against what he said. And you're a CSO of a state, right? If you do not give an order and somebody just comes and is shooting like a cowboy, you should be on ground. As a leader of the state, you should say, you cannot shoot at my people. If you have to shoot at me to get to me, to get to the people.
So you believe, even though time and again the governor has said, well, I didn't give the order in different ways, you believe that he still gave the order, and understanding how governance works, how the chain of command, not even with the police, with the military, you still believe?
I don't believe that a military setup will come and start shooting at people without carrying the governor along. It's not possible.
So
except it was a coup.
Order.
I believe that. And I also believe that he saw the bodies. I believe that he was at Reddington Hospital. I believe that he saw the bodies. And there's a lot of evidence on this. So all this gaslighting that they've been doing, we're just watching them. Because it's the same thing as they're telling us that the election was won by 10,000. When we know that they took out almost 50,000 votes in Alimosho and 20,000 votes in Ikeja. There's a lot of gaslighting, politics, and tokenism that is a hallmark of the APC government.
So, but without losing sight, of the thrust of the conversation.
Controversies. We're talking about controversies.
You've contested under the COA party before.
Yes.
You've contested under the PDP before.
Yes.
And, your parentage didn't come up. Why do you think it's coming up now?
Well, because they are threatened. And the governor had several opportunities to come and give account of his stewardship of Lagos State in several debates, and he dodged all of them. And now he's seeing that the people are no longer just, I've always said my work in the last 5-6 years is to bring an entirely new voter demographic to the ballot. And this new demographic is interested in accountability. They're interested in you expressing your vision and giving account of what you've been giving, what you've done with the resources available to you. And they've seen that. Now, unfortunately, the whole argument is without substance. So they have to resort to primordial sentiment. And this is standard. When you don't really have much to offer, you try to divide people based on tribes and primordial leanings.
But if you plan to unify, Lagos, do you feel conflicted, or do you feel that you'll be unable to, since you don't speak the language?
Not at all. Lagos is a cosmopolitan state. And the fact of the matter is not as though I don't understand Yoruba or I cannot speak it. My intonations are funny. People laugh at me, and I don't think in Yoruba, right? I went to school at MIT. I went to school in Nottingham. I went to school in France. I went to school. So there's been a lot of movements in my life, right? But that does not change the fact that, listen, everybody at the end of the day wants good governance. The market woman in Lagos Island does not want to be paying all this over-taxation to Agberos that cannot be accounted for. The Igbo woman Igbo man in Ladipo, similar problems. People want good governance. It's not about the language you are speaking.
Interesting. Maybe you'll do some language tests in the future, or do a
maybe that would be
you're about to do videos time and again. But you talked about market women, the Agbero question. I'll come to that in a moment. But the market talk reminded me of the fire market Olodia Papa yesterday, and you were there just right after that market fire, and it was quite emotional for a lot of people.
It was emotional for me as well.
It was for you as well, seeing that goods were burned, even a life was lost in the process. And one of the other things that came up, and I think it ties back to the atmosphere pre-election, pre-governorship election, is a tweet that you put out that then was deleted. And I wonder if you would explain to Nigerians what motivated that tweet. Was it anger? Was it maybe an aide who just tweeted without
No, it was me. It was me. I'm not the person that will pass the ball.
Just so a lot of people understand that tweet. It says the APC government is so backward. I keep warning, put in mind what will happen when the tables turn. This evil, from the murder of Funshaw Williams to NSAS to state-backed terrorism of residents of Lagos, must stop.
Yes.
For a lot of people, that was maybe, and perhaps that's why you deleted it. But give us a background information.
So for me, this government has run unaccountably for over 2 decades, right? They've empowered Agberos and touts and thugs that carry out so much violence, and they've not been brought to book. I mean, look at during the NSAS, right in front of Alausa Secretariat, young men came out with machetes from BRT buses, and these people have not been brought to book, right? And I'm saying, power is not always going to be in your hands. So treat people how you want to be treated, because you are going to have to account for all of these things. You cannot just be carry on state-backed violence like that and not think it will eventually be investigated or you will not be brought to book. So I'm saying, whatever you are doing, just because you have power in your hands does not mean that it will always be in your hands. And at a point, you are going to have to come and account for it, right? Through legal means, right? And for me, and I've been putting this warning out consistently for about 6 months. It should be in your utterances. It should be in, the first time I said this was, one of our supporters was putting a poster of Peter Obi in Iba in Ojo, and they macheted his forehead. And I said, you cannot continue like this, right? We are going to have to investigate at a point. Who are the people that did these things, right? And those people are going to have to face the full wrath of the law.
Do you know who macheted him?
Yes, he can identify them.
Do you know who they are? Are they affiliated? I mean,
yes, they're affiliated to the APC.
And you can confirm?
Yes, and same thing happened with the Flag Boys around Oshodi Interchange, that whole new place. They were nearly burnt alive. We reported to the police. Till yet, nothing yet has been done, right? So I'm saying, because you have power now and the state's apparatus is working in your interest, always consider that one day the tables will turn and you are going to have to account for all of these things.
So why did you delete the tweet then, if it came from where you think it came from?
The honest truth is, I work with a team, right? And my team felt that, you must start to talk like a governor. And talking like a governor also implies that your emotions and the injustice that you feel must also be communicated in a way that is very neutral, right? And I listened. Right, so that's me being honest. That's the truth.
Do you regret putting out the tweet?
No, I think that I'm human. And I saw that, and it's building up on a lot of things. Even forget this tribal thing. Look at all the rumors about markets that are burnt, later reclaimed by the state, then a modern building is built, and the people that have been there cannot afford to rent stalls in that market. It also talks about evictions. It talks about forceful evictions of people. It talks about a development of Lagos that is not inclusive and is always marginalizing the poor. And the vulnerable in society are always the ones that are suffering. It's almost like there's a law, but the law is for only the poor. Right? And the rich are just above the law. And this it pervades every sector of our society. And it's a very painful thing to see.
It's a good thing, you know, you visit the market, commiserate with the people over their loss, you know, but it's part of the show, right? You know, for people to see you as compassionate, particularly because you want to
I don't
become
think
governor.
it's a part of the show thing. You see, I believe that the greatest qualities we can have, right, in a leader is empathy, cerebral capacity, and the strength and courage to do what is right. Right, and Alhaji Lateef Jakonde is an epitome of that. Obafemi Awolowo is the epitome of that as well. But you see, when people come out to say they stand by you and they vote for you, and people come to attack them or hurt them or try to marginalize them because they took that step, you have to stand up for them as well. They stood up for you, you have to stand up for them, right? And this cuts across, right? So it's not a show. It's something that came from genuine concern and emotion. And I got there, I saw a grown man crying. His wife was crying. I literally had to walk back so I don't start crying on TV and then go back in. And you see people should be allowed to vote who they want. And if you feel bad about that, do the work, make them happy. So you don't have to suppress or intimidate people to get their support.
I'm just wondering whether, you know, it's something that should be a pattern since you're a politician and this is not the first time you're contesting. So it shouldn't just be strategic, you know, coming at a time that is close to the polls.
My journey in politics started from activism, which is campaigning against the introduction of genetic modified foods in Nigeria. That was not a popular struggle. It was highly intellectual, but it's something that connected us all because all of us eat. I led the 2,000-man march on the Senate. This was not for popularity or patterns or anything. Empathy and compassion for things that I believe I can change, I can be part of, has been consistent for years, right? So this is not a show. It's a situation where this happened and I had to react, right? There are many things that happened. I'll give you an example. The lady that was stabbed in the face, right? The Labour Party lady, right? I called her, I talked to her for a long time, you know, showed support and all that, but I not go to go and visit her and take pictures or a photo. No, I didn't do that, right? So I'm not hopping on no. This was important and I had to act.
Just before we toss it to Abuja, in response to the controversies, you know, there's a missive going around that you reportedly penned, and I'd just like you to respond to it or deny that that you authored it. Paragraph 6 says, I refuse their bribe offer of 20 billion naira to sell out my ticket and step down from the governorship race for Sanwo-Olu. Did you author that?
I didn't author that.
You didn't author that?
I didn't author that.
Okay. So
let's settle
it's just like, I'm sure Sanwo-Olu did not author that I'm an IPOB leader, my father never married my mother, and, you know, there's so many things that
we never offered anything to step down.
No, I'm not being.
Well, let's head over to our Abuja studio. Chamberlain has a few questions and perhaps Mark, wait for you.
All right, well, let me ask you, a lot is involved with these elections in Lagos. Even families are conflicted as to how they need to approach all of this. Would you say that you are doing your level best to ensure that both your supporters and all else ensure that they conduct themselves decently, both before, during, and after the elections?
My focus now is on security and ensuring that my people come out to vote. People come out to vote. Actually, not my people. Everybody comes out to vote, and they are not intimidated or harassed, because any form of intimidation or harassment will be met with resistance. It's just that simple. In relation to people behavior and all of that, we're a party that, you know, wants to build. We are not destroyers. We like value. We want people that create value and people that are supportive of building a community that is also supportive of everybody and is inclusive. So I'm not quite sure how your question might be leaning, but our focus is on securing the people that are coming out on election day to vote for Labour Party and to vote in general, to be honest, and to ensure that we have an experience that is positive for people that are going to come out to vote.
And that's certainly a base minimum that, you know, all the parties should be able to agree on. The fact that, you know, people should be free to express themselves, and at the end of the day, that their votes count. But let me ask you, I want to go back to this question of the tribal issues that have come up in Lagos State. And some people will argue that at the heart of it is the fear that cultures could be eroded. I mean, you know, you do know that there's some indigenous communities in Lagos. How do you intend to manage the fact that Lagos is a cosmopolitan city, largely, but that there are still indigenous minorities? How do you intend to manage that in such a way that their cultures are also preserved?
So it's about paying real attention to it. You know, people are talking about this, but then the real damage is being done by the government stealing indigenous families' lands. All from Ikorodu all the way to Ojo, to Ekpe. Indigenous families have been stripped of their lands and appropriated without any credit going to the state coffers, right? These things must be addressed, and we must address it in a fair way, as transparent, and these things must be returned, right, to indigenous families. Also about celebrating our culture, the rich culture of the Egu in Badagry, the rich culture of the Aworis in Ojo and parts of Lagos Island and Alimosho, and the culture of Lagos Island. And this is by celebrating with art, with culture, curating it and letting it be something that people are drawn to come and visit, you know, actually investing properly in these things as opposed to just lip service when it's convenient in political season. And the honest truth is Lagos State has been a home, has been cosmopolitan even before the Oba of Benin sent our current ruling class to Lagos State. It has been a trading post. The indigenes of Lagos are accepting, welcoming, warm people. We don't discriminate, you know, and that's the culture that needs to be restored in Lagos, because most of these people that are pushing all of these things, they're not even from Lagos.
Let's wind down in less than a minute. A lot of people see you as a rookie politician, a young person, and they think that the seat of Lagos, or the governorship seat in Lagos, is not one to gamble with, to play hit or miss with in less than 30 seconds, if you could. What do you say to those people? Because I remember 2017, you were running for chairman local government of Ikeja under Kowa, moved to the PDP, now Labour Party. So what do you tell those people who say you're a rookie and this seat is maybe not for you?
I tell people that Alhaji Lateef Jakonde never had any public sector experience, but what he achieved in 4.5 years, the APC government has not achieved it in 2 decades. I say the visionary leader, Obafemi Awolowo, what he achieved for the Southwesterners, he had no public sector experience or governance experience, but he moved the interests of the Yorubas to levels that people are still trying to aspire to. The fact of the matter is, you must have empathy, cerebral capacity, and courage to do the right thing. And I have operated at the highest levels in the world. I graduated from the best university in the world, worked with the American government, the Chinese government, came back to Nigeria, ensured that I got into affordable housing, built capacity to be able to be the best governor that Lagos has ever had.
I think the good thing about this is we have a few more days to probe your manifesto and all of that. But we'll have to thank you so much.
Please welcome, invite me back.
Okay.
I enjoyed this
We'll take you up on that. But it's been a very interesting one with Gbadebo Rhodesvival, the governorship candidate of Labour Party.
Who knows,
in Lagos State.
time.
Thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thank you so much. Real pleasure.